I met my birth mother about 15 years ago, and I can't say it was a great experience. She had a memory of a slightly different birthday than the one I celebrate. It made no sense. And she also insisted that I was 3 months premature, which I think would have made me a medical miracle in 1961. I certainly was significantly premature, and I spent a lot of time in a neonatal clinic, not unlike the one controlled by Lucy Letwin. And so I'm very sympathetic to the families of Letby's victims, and I think I think while on the one hand we are punishing this appalling behaviour by Letby, on the other hand we need to recognise there are victims who must receive more than simply the bereavement damages of 15,000 odd pounds, and which was capped in the Fatal Accidents Act of 1976. This isn't a fatal accident. This is a crime that the NHS allowed to happen. It's something that has happened on NHS territory, and that they turned a blind eye to for quite a long time. And if you listen to the extraordinary testimony of the doctor who was one of the first to raise the concerns, and how he was treated, and how at one point he was made, before the police were finally called in, just before that point, he was made to write a letter of apology to Lucy Letwin by the NHS trust managers, who were more interested in the reputation of their trust than they were in the care that they were providing. And that seems to me to be mirrored by the sort of experiences that I have witnessed, heard of, and experienced. Our NHS is tied to a management which is interested in appearance rather than reality. And in that, of course, it's simply following the same sort of movement as we see in our own government. And it has to change. Appearance should mirror reality. It shouldn't be different. And this is one of the issues that goes all the way back to ancient Greek philosophy, the difference between appearance and reality. And when you start to confuse the image with the reality, and when you are deceived by the pretty pictures and deceived by words. Now, I was amused that Nadine Dorries used the word sophistry when she was talking about her denied peerage. But it is a word which is appropriate. We are governed by sophists. We are controlled by sophists who control the businesses which are most important in our lives, including the NHS. And we need to crack down on sophistry. Sophistry, using words to mean what they don't mean. And there's a person who goes under the name of Anonymous who was saying, well, why are you so upset about Lee Anderson and Suella Braverman? Because we know that the words they say are not what they really mean. Well, if that's the case, then they shouldn't be saying those words. Some people may have the perspicacity to be able to see through their duplicity, but most people don't, and most people will take them at their word and will repeat what they say. They give a bad example. So do the people who manage the NHS Trust. So if the NHS has to face £50 million damages, then they can jolly well pay up. But where do we get that money? That money ultimately comes from our taxes, so we are paying that money. But if we don't pay that money, how can these families face life? This is where we start to untangle the difficulties. That money must come from the money that would otherwise be paid to bureaucrats. And in order to get that money, we must reduce the number of bureaucrats, particularly at the Chester Hospital. That is the way it must be done. That money must come from money that would otherwise be paid to pointless paper punchers, because they are the people ultimately responsible for overlooking the appalling behaviour of Lucy Letwin, and they are not properly regulated. We need to regulate managers, we need to regulate bureaucrats, and I think we need to reduce the number of them very fast, so that we can pay these families what they deserve. And there are lawyers now representing the 7 families. They're preparing claims, and I'm sure there will be other families as news emerges, as the stories emerge of the various babies who almost were victims as well, because they will also need care. And I think this malicious woman has denied 7 small children of a future. She has hurt and killed other children. It's just wrong. It's just wrong, and we shouldn't be paying this huge amount of money for her upkeep in prison and not thinking about the care of the victims. We must think about the victims, and we must think about her rehabilitation, because prison isn't just about keeping somebody out of sight and out of mind, it's about reforming them. We don't necessarily want her back in our society, but she should be reformed in her own society, that little society in the prison that she will inhabit for the rest of her life.